The stars had always been beautiful from the observation deck of the Coalition vessel Eternal Watch. Lieutenant Park Do-yoon stood there now, his hands pressed against the cold glass, watching his home planet burn. Earth hung in the darkness like a wounded jewel. Great clouds of smoke rose from its surface. Fire spread across continents. The Devourer swarm had been attacking for 3 days now, and the planet was dying. Do-hyun was 32 years old. He had joined the Coalition fleet 5 years ago, the first human to reach the rank of lieutenant. He had been so proud. His mother had cried with joy. His father had said the family name would be remembered forever. Now his parents were down there, somewhere in the chaos, probably dead. "Lieutenant," a voice said behind him, "you should not be here." Do-hyun did not turn around. He knew the voice. It belonged to Ambassador Relis, a tall being with gray skin and 4 arms. Relis was one of the older species in the Coalition. His people had been traveling between stars when humans still lived in caves. "Where else should I be?" Do-hyun asked. His voice was flat, empty. Relis walked to stand beside him. Together, they watched the destruction below. "The Council has made its decision," Relis said quietly. "All Coalition forces are withdrawing from this sector." Do-hyun's hands became fists. "They are leaving us to die." "Yes." The simple honesty of the answer hurt more than any lie would have. Do-hyun finally turned to look at the alien. "Why? We are Coalition members. We pay our taxes. We follow the laws. We send our young people to serve in your fleets. Why are you abandoning us?" Relis was silent for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with something that might have been shame. High Arbiter Vorath presented his case to the Council this morning. He said that Earth is too far from the core worlds, too difficult to defend. He said that humanity is a young species with little to offer. He calculated the cost of fighting the swarm here, and he decided it was too high. "Too high," Do-hyun repeated. 8 billion lives. Too high. The vote was 11-1. Only my people opposed it. Through the window, Do-hyun could see the swarm ships. They were ugly things, part machine and part living creature. They moved like insects, swarming over human defense stations and tearing them apart. The human fleet was fighting, but they were losing. Without Coalition support, they had no chance. "My sister has 2 children," Do-hyun said. "Twins. They turned 5 last month. I sent them toy spaceships." Relis said nothing. "My grandmother is 90 years old. She survived 3 wars on Earth. She used to tell me that humans were strong, that we could survive anything." Do-hyun's voice cracked. She never imagined this. An explosion lit up the darkness. One of the human battleships broke apart. Do-hyun watched the pieces scatter into space. 3,000 crew members, gone in seconds. "I cannot change what the Council has decided," Relis said slowly. "But I can give you something. Something that might help your people if any survive." Do-hyun looked at him. Relis reached into his robe and pulled out a small data crystal. "This contains classified information. Coalition defense systems, weapon designs, ship blueprints, the locations of our supply routes and military bases. It also contains the weaknesses of every Coalition species, including my own." Do-hyun stared at the crystal. "Why would you give me this?" "Because what my people are doing today is wrong. Because I have watched humanity for 50 years, and I believe you deserve better. Because someday, perhaps, you will need this information." Relis pressed the crystal into Do-hyun's hand. "Hide it, tell no one. And survive, Lieutenant. Whatever it takes, survive." Before Do-hyun could respond, an announcement echoed through the ship. "All personnel, prepare for departure. We are leaving the Sol system in 10 minutes." Relis turned and walked away. At the door, he paused. I am sorry, Park Do-hyun. I am truly sorry. Then he was gone. Do-hyun stood alone, the data crystal cold in his palm. Below him, Earth continued to burn. He thought about his mother's smile, his father's strong hands, his sister's laugh, the way his grandmother smelled like flowers and old books. He thought about the millions of people who were dying right now, calling for help that would never come. The coalition had decided that humanity was not worth saving. Do-hyun closed his eyes. Tears ran down his face. But behind the tears, something else was growing. Something cold and hard and patient. We will remember this, he whispered to the empty room. Every single one of us who survives will remember what you did today. And someday, when you have forgotten us, we will remind you. The ship engines hummed. The Eternal Watch turned away from Earth and jumped into faster-than-light travel. In seconds, the Sol system was gone. Do-hyun opened his eyes. He looked at the data crystal one more time, then slipped it into his pocket. On Earth, the survivors hid in deep bunkers and underground cities. They watched their world die above them. They listened to the screams on the radio as city after city fell. They heard the last message from their government. Stay hidden. Stay alive. Do not lose hope. The Devourer swarm fed for 3 months. When there was nothing left on the surface, they moved on, searching for new prey. Behind them, they left a dead world. Oceans poisoned. Forests burned. Cities turned to dust. But deep underground, 200 million humans still breathed. They emerged slowly, carefully, into the ruins of their civilization. They looked at the gray sky and the poisoned ground. They buried their dead and counted their losses. And then they received one final message from the coalition. A single transmission sent to the emergency frequency. To any remaining human survivors, the Galactic Coalition regrets the loss of your species. Your sacrifice will be remembered. May you find peace in the void. Admiral Yoon Jae-soo, one of the highest-ranking survivors of the human military, read the message aloud to the other leaders. She was 50 years old, with gray hair and sharp eyes. When she finished reading, she was quiet for a long time. They think we are finished, she finally said. They think we will die quietly in our ruins, grateful that they bothered to send us condolences. She crumpled the message and dropped it on the ground. They are wrong. They are very, very wrong. She looked at the other survivors. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, farmers, teachers, ordinary people who had lost everything. From this day forward, we have one purpose, Admiral Jae-soo said. We will rebuild. We will grow strong. And when we are ready, we will make them remember us. We will make them regret the day they left humanity to die. The survivors said nothing. But in their eyes, Jae-soo saw the same cold fire that burned in her own heart. The galaxy had made a terrible mistake. It would take time, but humanity would make sure they understood just how terrible. The age of vengeance had begun. The galaxy moved on. The coalition grew fat and lazy. New trade routes opened. Old wars ended. The Devourer swarm became a distant memory, a monster from old stories that parents used to scare their children. Nobody talked about Earth anymore. Nobody remembered the humans. They were gone, erased from history, like so many other failed species. Just another sad story in a galaxy full of sad stories. But the humans were not gone. They were waiting deep beneath the surface of their ruined world. In tunnels that stretched for thousands of kilometers, humanity had been busy. Very, very busy. Dr. Kim Yoon-ji stood in her laboratory, surrounded by machines that would have seemed like magic a century ago. She was 112 years old, but she looked 40. New medical technology kept her young and sharp. She needed every year she could get. There was so much work to do. "Show me the results," she said. Her assistant, a young man named Lee Taiho, pulled up a holographic display. Numbers and images filled the air. "The new engine design is ready," Taiho said. "We tested it last night. The ship traveled from Earth to the edge of the solar system in 4 minutes. Yunji smiled. 4 minutes. The fastest coalition ship takes 6 hours. Yes, Doctor. We are much faster now. Yunji walked through the hologram, studying the data. 100 years of work. 100 years of studying the data crystal that Lieutenant Do-hyun had brought back from the coalition ship. 100 years of learning everything about their enemies, and 100 years of building something new. The humans had not just rebuilt their old civilization. They had created something better. They had taken coalition technology and improved it. They had taken pieces of the Devourer swarm that remained on Earth and learned their secrets. They had combined everything into weapons and ships that the galaxy had never seen, all in secret. All in silence. "Where's the captain?" Yunji asked. "He is with Admiral Jisoo. They are reviewing the fleet." Yunji nodded. "Tell them I will join them soon. I want to check the final weapon one more time." In another part of the underground city, Captain Park Do-hyun walked through rows of warships. He was 132 years old now, but the new medicine kept him strong. His hair was still black. His eyes were still sharp. And his memory was perfect. He remembered everything. Every face. Every name. Every moment of that terrible day when he watched his world burn. Admiral Yoon Jisoo walked beside him. She was 150 now, the oldest human alive. She refused to slow down. She said she would not die until she saw justice done. "How many ships?" Do-hyun asked. 347 in the main fleet, Jisoo answered. "Another 200 in reserve. Plus the special operations vessels." Do-hyun stopped in front of one ship. It was larger than the others, sleek and black, built for war. The name was painted on its side in white letters. Retribution. "My ship," he said quietly. "Your ship," Jisoo agreed. Engineer Bae Soyeon finished the final upgrades yesterday. It is the most powerful warship humanity has ever built. As if summoned by her name, Soyeon appeared from behind the ship. She was young, only 35, but she was the greatest engineer of her generation. Her parents had died in the abandonment. Her grandparents had survived and raised her on stories of revenge. "Captain," Soyeon said, wiping oil from her hands. "She is ready. Faster than anything in the coalition fleet. Stronger shields. Better weapons. She can fight 5 coalition battleships at once and win." "You are sure?" Do-hyun asked. Soyeon smiled. It was not a kind smile. "I am sure. I built her myself. Every piece. Every wire. Every weapon. I put 100 years of human anger into this ship." Lieutenant Choi Min-ho joined them. He was Do-hyun's second in command, the finest pilot humanity had ever produced. He could fly anything, anywhere, through any danger. He had practiced for 20 years in secret simulators, preparing for this day. "The pilots are ready," Min-ho reported. "Every crew member has been training for 10 years minimum. They know the mission. They know the risks. They are not afraid." Do-hyun looked at his team, his crew, his family. They had all lost people in the abandonment. They all carried the same cold fire in their hearts. "The coalition thinks we are dead," Do-hyun said. "They erased us from their history books. They forgot our names. They sleep peacefully, believing they are safe." He paused. "Tomorrow, we remind them we exist." Admiral Jisoo raised her hand. All around the hangar, workers stopped and turned to listen. 100 years ago, the galaxy abandoned us, Jisoo said. Her voice was old but strong. They left 8 billion of our people to die. They called us worthless. They said we were not worth saving. She looked around at the ships, the weapons, the army humanity had built in secret. They were wrong. They were so very wrong. And now, they will learn what happens when you turn your back on humanity. The workers cheered. The sound echoed through the underground city, through the tunnels, through the entire planet. 200 million survivors and their descendants, all united by one purpose. That night, Dr. Yunji finished her final checks. The weapon was ready. It was something new, something the Coalition had never seen. A device that could disable entire fleets without destroying them. That was important. Admiral Jisoo had been very clear about their rules. "We are not monsters," Jisoo had said. "We will not kill innocent people. We will not destroy civilian cities. We will show them that we are better than they are. We will defeat them with precision and discipline. And then we will make them apologize for what they did." Yunji agreed with the Admiral. Revenge was not about becoming evil. It was about justice. It was about making the galaxy understand that humanity was never worthless, that they should have helped instead of running away. The next morning, the fleet launched. 347 ships rose from the surface of Earth for the first time in a century. They moved through space faster than light, faster than thought, silent as ghosts. Captain Do-hyun sat in the command chair of the Retribution. Around him, his crew worked with calm efficiency. They had trained for this moment their entire lives. "First target?" Minho asked from the pilot's seat. Do-hyun looked at the star map. Thousands of Coalition worlds glowed like scattered jewels. "A patrol route near the border," he said. "We start small. We want them to know we are coming before we arrive. We want them to be afraid." Soyeon looked up from her engineering station. "Should I prepare the main weapons?" Do-hyun shook his head. "Not yet. First contact should be a message, not a battle. We will disable their ships and let the survivors go. They will carry our message back to their masters." The fleet moved through the darkness between stars. Behind them, Earth grew smaller and smaller until it was just another point of light. But the fire of 200 million angry humans traveled with them. 100 years of pain. 100 years of planning. 100 years of waiting. The galaxy was about to remember humanity, and they were about to be very, very sorry. The Coalition patrol ship Starkeeper was having a boring day. Commander Vrel sat in his chair, watching empty space through the main window. His crew of 40 was half asleep. Nothing ever happened on this route. "Commander," the sensor officer said suddenly, "I am detecting something strange." Vrel sat up. "What is it?" "I do not know. It appeared from nowhere. No jump signature. No engine trace. It is just there." Vrel walked to the sensor station. On the screen, a single ship floated in space. It was black and sleek, like nothing he had ever seen before. "Try to identify it," Vrel ordered. "I cannot, Commander. The design is not in our database." Before Vrel could respond, the lights on his ship flickered. Then they went out. Emergency power came on, bathing everything in red light. "What happened?" Vrel shouted. "We have lost main power. Engines are offline. Weapons are offline. Communications are—" The officer's voice trembled. "Everything is offline, Commander. We are dead in space." The bridge crew stared at each other in confusion and fear. This was impossible. Coalition ships were the most advanced in the galaxy. Nothing could disable them so easily. Then a voice came through the emergency speakers. A voice speaking perfect Coalition standard. A voice that was calm and cold and full of quiet anger. "Coalition vessel. This is Captain Park Do-hyun of the Human Vengeance Fleet." The bridge went silent. Vrel's blood turned to ice. That is impossible, someone whispered. The humans are extinct. The voice continued. 100 years ago, your coalition left my people to die. You abandoned 8 billion innocent lives because we were not important enough to save. You thought we would die quietly. You thought you would never have to think about us again. Vrel tried to speak, but his throat was dry. You were wrong. Humanity survived. Humanity rebuilt. And now, humanity has returned. I am giving you one chance to deliver a message to High Arbiter Vorath and the Coalition Council. The emergency lights flickered. Tell them that we remember. Tell them that we are coming. Tell them that they should be very, very afraid. The voice stopped. The lights came back on. Power returned to every system. On the sensor screen, the black ship was gone. Vrel stood frozen for a long moment. Then he turned to his communication officer. Contact Coalition Command. Now, tell them. He swallowed hard. Tell them the humans are alive. 3 days later, High Arbiter Vorath received the message. He was old now, ancient even by his species' long standards. He had ruled the Coalition for 200 years. He had made thousands of decisions. He barely remembered the humans. This is a joke, he said, reading the report. Some kind of trick. His advisor shifted nervously. High Arbiter, Commander Vrel is a reliable officer. He would not lie about something like this. The humans are dead. We watched their planet burn. No one could survive that. As if to answer him, alarms began ringing throughout the building. Vorath's personal screen lit up with emergency reports. High Arbiter, his advisor said, voice shaking. 3 of our military outposts have gone dark. All communication lost. Vorath grabbed the screen. The reports were clear. Outpost 7, Outpost 12, Outpost 23. All on the border of Coalition space. All silent. Send ships, Vorath ordered. Find out what happened. The rescue ships arrived 6 hours later. What they found made them sick. The outposts were intact. No damage, no signs of battle. But every soldier was gone. 5,000 Coalition troops had simply vanished. The only thing left was a message, burned into the walls of each station with some kind of energy weapon. The same message in all 3 places. You left us to die. On the other side of the galaxy, Ambassador Relis watched the news from his retirement home. He was very old now, the oldest of his species. He had lived long enough to see many things, but he had never expected to see this. The humans were back, and they had his data crystal. Relis closed his eyes, remembering that day on the Eternal Watch, remembering the young lieutenant with tears on his face, remembering the small act of rebellion that had seemed so pointless at the time. It had not been pointless after all. Wow, Relis said to himself. This will be interesting. He reached for his communication device. He had spent the last century in quiet shame, unable to change what his people had done. But now, perhaps, there was still a way to help. He began to write a message. Meanwhile, the human vengeance fleet moved through Coalition space like ghosts. They struck quickly and disappeared. They disabled ships but did not destroy them. They captured soldiers but did not kill them. Every survivor was released with the same instructions. Tell your masters that humanity remembers. Captain Doyen stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching another captured patrol ship drift away. Its crew was unharmed but terrified. Captain, Lieutenant Minho said, Admiral Jisoo is calling. Do-hyun nodded, and the Admiral's face appeared on screen. Excellent work, Jisoo said. The Coalition is in chaos. Vorath has called an emergency session of the Council. They are very scared. Good, Do-hyun said. They should be. But we must be careful. We want them afraid, not desperate. Desperate enemies do stupid things. Do-hyun understood. This campaign was not about destruction. It was about making the coalition understand their mistake. It was about earning respect through strength. It was about showing the galaxy that humanity was never worthless. I received an interesting message today, Jisoo continued. From Ambassador Relis. Do-hyun's heart skipped. Relis, the alien who had given him the data crystal. The one coalition member who had opposed the abandonment. What does he want? He wants to help us negotiate. He says he can arrange a meeting with moderate voices in the coalition. People who want peace. Engineer Soyeon spoke up from her station. Can we trust him? He helped us once, Do-hyun said slowly, when he had nothing to gain. He risked everything to give me that crystal. That was 100 years ago, Soyeon pointed out. I know. Do-hyun thought for a long moment. But maybe that is exactly why we should listen. We are not here to destroy the coalition. We are here to make them acknowledge what they did. If there are people willing to help with that, we should give them a chance. Jisoo nodded. I agree. I will respond to Relis. In the meantime, continue the campaign. Keep the pressure on. Let them know we are serious. The screen went dark. Do-hyun looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 8 billion ghosts watched him. His parents, his sister, his grandmother, everyone who had died in the abandonment. We are almost there, he whispered to them. Just a little longer. I promise you will have justice. Behind him, his crew worked in silence. They'd all made the same promise, and they would keep it, no matter what it took. The Retribution turned toward its next target and disappeared into the darkness between stars. The Coalition's nightmare was just beginning. The Coalition Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from 12 species shouted at each other. Screens showed news reports of human attacks. Fear filled the air like smoke. High. Arbiter Vorath slammed his fist on the table. Silence. The room went quiet. Every eye turned to the old ruler. This is exactly what they want, Vorath said. They want us to panic. They want us to fight among ourselves. We must stay united. Ambassador Keller, a representative from one of the younger species, stood up. United? You ask us to be united now? Where was unity 100 years ago when we voted to abandon Earth? That decision was made to protect the coalition, Vorath said coldly. That decision created this problem. Keller shouted. We left them to die, and now they have come back to haunt us. What did you expect? Other representatives began to murmur. Old arguments surfaced. Old doubts emerged. My people never agreed with that vote, said another ambassador. We said it was wrong. We warned you there would be consequences. And now our ships are being disabled. Our soldiers are disappearing. Our people are afraid to travel. Keller looked directly at Vorath. This is your fault, High Arbiter. You made us abandon an innocent species. Now their survivors want revenge. Vorath's face twisted with anger. Then we will crush them. We will send our entire fleet. Our entire fleet cannot even find them. Keller interrupted. Their ships are faster than ours. Their weapons are better than ours. They appear from nowhere and vanish like ghosts. In 2 months, they have embarrassed our military 100 times. The chamber exploded in arguments again. Far away. On the bridge of the Retribution, Captain Do-hyun watched a recording of the council session. Dr. Yoonji had tapped into coalition communications weeks ago. Now they could see everything. They are falling apart, Lieutenant Minho observed. Good, Engineer Soyeon said. Let them destroy themselves. But Do-hyun was not smiling. He was watching a different screen, one showing the faces of captured coalition soldiers. Young faces. Scared faces. Captain? Dr. Yoonji noticed his expression. Is something wrong? Do-hyun was quiet for a moment. These soldiers we captured yesterday. How old are they? Yoonji checked their data. Most are between 20 and 30 years old. Why? They were not even born when the abandonment happened. They had nothing to do with the decision to leave us. Soyeon shrugged. So what? They serve the coalition. The same coalition that abandoned us. I know. Do-han stood and walked to the window. Stars stretched endlessly in every direction. But I keep thinking about my nephew. He would be about their age now, if he had lived. Just a young person doing his job. Following orders. The bridge was silent. We are not here to punish children for their parents' mistakes, Do-hyun said finally. We are here to make the coalition acknowledge what they did, to ensure it never happens again. I will not become the monster they thought we were. Yoonji nodded slowly. What do you want to do? Before Do-hyun could answer, an alarm sounded. Minho checked his instruments and went pale. Captain, long-range sensors are picking up something. Something big. Coming from dark space. Do-hyun rushed to the sensor station. His blood went cold. The readings were unmistakable. The same readings they had seen 100 years ago on Earth. The Devour Swarm. He whispered. EUNG pulled up the data. It is worse than last time. Much worse. The swarm has grown. There are 10 times more ships than the force that attacked Earth. Where are they heading? Minho traced the trajectory. Toward Coalition core space. They will reach the first inhabited world in approximately 3 months. The bridge crew stared at each other in shock. After a century, the swarm was back. And this time, it was not targeting some insignificant planet on the edge of the galaxy. It was heading straight for the heart of Coalition civilization. Do-hyun contacted Admiral Jisoo immediately. Her face was grim when she appeared on screen. I have seen the reports, she said. This changes everything. What do we do? Do-hyun asked. Do we warn the Coalition? Jisoo was quiet for a long moment. Part of me wants to say no. Part of me wants to let them burn like they let us burn. Let them feel what we felt. But that is not who we are. That is not what we fought to become. Jisoo took a deep breath. We spent 100 years building weapons to fight the Coalition. But perhaps those weapons were always meant for a different purpose. On another screen, a message arrived. It was from Ambassador Relis. Captain Do-hyun, the message said. I have just learned about the swarm's return. The Coalition is in chaos. They cannot organize a proper defense. Vorath is more concerned with fighting you than preparing for the real threat. Please, we must talk. I believe I can help negotiate a truce. But time is running out. Do-hyun read the message twice. What are your orders, Admiral? He asked. Jisoo closed her eyes. When she opened them, her decision was made. Contact Relis. Arrange a meeting. We will offer the Coalition a choice. They can accept our help against the swarm, or they can face it alone like we did. She paused. But our help comes with conditions. They will acknowledge what they did. They will apologize. They will agree to treat humanity as equals from now on. And if they refuse, then we leave them to the swarm, just like they left us. It was harsh, but it was fair. The same choice they had given humanity a century ago, turned back on them. Do-hyun sent a response to Relis. The meeting was arranged for 3 days later, on a neutral station between Coalition space and Earth. On the night before the meeting, Do-hyun could not sleep. He walked through the ship, checking on his crew. He found Soyeon in the engine room, running diagnostics. Nervous? He asked. Soyeon shook her head. Just thinking. I spent my whole life hating the Coalition. My grandparents taught me to hate them. Everyone I know has been preparing for war against them. And now we might save them instead. Does that bother you? Soyen was quiet for a moment. No, I think my grandmother would be proud. She used to say that the best revenge is proving them wrong. Proving that we are better than they thought we were. Dawn nodded. That is what Admiral Jisoo believes too. That is why she has rules about not killing civilians. About only targeting military assets. We want justice, not genocide. The question is whether the coalition will understand that. I guess we will find out tomorrow. Soyen smiled slightly. It was still not a kind smile, but it was less angry than before. Whatever happens, I'm glad I am here. I'm glad I got to see humanity rise from the ashes. Whatever they decide, they will never forget us again. Dahin put his hand on her shoulder. No, they will never forget us. The Retribution flew through the darkness toward a meeting that would decide the fate of two civilizations. Behind it, 347 warships followed, ready for whatever came next. And far away, in the cold void between galaxies, the Devour Swarm continued its approach, mindless, hungry, unstoppable. The final battle was coming. One way or another, the universe would never be the same. The meeting took place on a small station in neutral space. Captain Doyen arrived with a small team. Ambassador Relis was waiting for them. When Do-hyun saw the old alien, he felt strange emotions. Anger at what the coalition had done. Gratitude for what Relis had given him. And something else, something he could not name. Captain Park, Relis said. His voice was weak with age, but his eyes were bright. I hoped I would live long enough to see you again. You gave me the crystal, Do-hyun said. It saved my people. I gave you a chance. Your people saved themselves. Relis gestured toward a conference room. Please, we have much to discuss. Inside the room, representatives from 5 coalition species waited. They were the moderates, the ones who had opposed the abandonment or who wanted peace now. High Arbiter Vorath was not among them. Where is Vorath? Do-hyun asked. He refused to come, one representative said. He says he will not negotiate with terrorists. Terrorists. Do-hyun laughed, but there was no humor in it. We have not killed a single civilian. We have not destroyed any cities. We have only targeted military assets. And he calls us terrorists? Vorath is old and proud and afraid, Relis said. He knows that admitting he was wrong would destroy him politically, so he refuses to admit anything. Then maybe he needs to be removed, Engineer Soyen said bluntly. The representatives shifted uncomfortably, but no one disagreed. The negotiations lasted 2 days. By the end, they had reached an agreement. The coalition moderates would work to remove Vorath from power. In exchange, humanity would help defend against the Devour Swarm. After the battle, humanity would be recognized as a full coalition member with equal rights. And most importantly, there would be a formal apology for the abandonment, broadcast to every world in the galaxy. This is acceptable, Do-hyun said. But I have one more condition. Everyone looked at him. After this is over, the coalition will build a memorial on Earth, a monument to the 8 billion people who died because the galaxy abandoned them, so that no one ever forgets what happened, so that no one ever makes the same mistake again. Relis nodded slowly. That is more than fair. It will be done. Admiral Jisoo approved the agreement. The human vengeance fleet changed course, joining the coalition forces for the first time in history. The final battle took place near a planet called Harmony. It was the first coalition world in the swarm's path. Millions of civilians had been evacuated, but the military forces remained. Human and coalition ships fought side by side. Captain Do-hyun commanded from the bridge of the Retribution. Around him, his crew worked with perfect precision. The swarm fleet is entering weapon range, Lieutenant Minho reported. All ships, hold formation, Dayun ordered. Let them come to us. The swarm ships were nightmares made real. Half machine, half living creature, they moved like insects, swarming toward the defensive line. There were thousands of them, more than humanity and the coalition combined. They outnumber us 10-1, Soin said. Numbers do not matter, Do-hyun replied. We have something they do not. What? A reason to fight. The battle began. Energy weapons lit up space. Ships exploded. Soldiers died. But the human fleet moved through the chaos like dancers, faster and more agile than anything the swarm had faced before. Dr. Yoonji contacted Do-hyun from her laboratory ship. Captain, the weapon is ready. But someone needs to deliver it to the heart of the swarm fleet. What does it do? It disrupts their hive mind. Without the central intelligence, the individual swarm ships become confused and harmless. But the device has limited range. It must be placed within the core cluster. That is deep in enemy territory, Minho said. Whoever goes in might not come out. Before anyone could speak, Do-hyun made his decision. I will do it. The bridge went silent. Captain, no, Soyeon protested. You are too important. Let someone else. This is my mission, Do-hyun said quietly. This is what I have been preparing for since I was 32 years old. I watched my planet burn from a coalition ship. I made a promise to the ghosts of my family. I will see this through to the end. He looked at his crew, his family, the people who had followed him for decades. If I do not return, Lieutenant Minho takes command. Finish the mission. Build the world we dreamed of. He smiled. And tell my story. Tell him that Park Do-hyun kept his promise. Minho's eyes were wet, but he nodded. It will be done, Captain. Do-hyun flew a small ship into the heart of the swarm. Alone. The journey was terrifying. Swarm ships surrounded him, firing constantly. His shields failed. His engines burned. But he kept going, weaving through the nightmare with skills he had learned over 100 years. Finally, he reached the core. A massive ship, larger than anything else, pulsing with dark energy. The hive mind. This is for Earth, Do-hyun whispered. This is for everyone we lost. He activated the weapon. A wave of energy exploded outward. The hive mind screamed, a sound that echoed through space itself. Then it went silent. Around the battlefield, swarm ships stopped moving. They drifted aimlessly, confused, broken. Without their central intelligence, they were nothing. Coalition and human ships cheered. The battle was won. Admiral Jizu contacted the damaged ship floating in the core of the now harmless swarm fleet. Captain Do-hyun, do you read me? For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, weak but alive, I read you, Admiral. The weapon worked. We are sending rescue ships now. Hold on, Captain. You did it. You saved everyone. Do-hyun lay in the wreckage of his ship, bleeding and burned, but smiling. Through the broken window, he could see the stars. The same stars he had watched 100 years ago, when he was a young man with tears on his face and hatred in his heart. Mother, he whispered. Father, everyone, I hope you are proud. We did not become monsters. We became something better. Ambassador Relis broadcast a message to every world in the galaxy that night. He showed the battle. He showed the human ships fighting to defend coalition worlds. He showed Captain Do-hyun flying alone into the heart of the swarm. Today, humanity saved us, Relis said. 100 years ago, we abandoned them. We left them to die. We told ourselves they were not worth saving. We were wrong. They survived. They rebuilt. And when they had every reason to let us burn, they chose to save us instead. His old voice trembled with emotion. What does that say about them? What does that say about us? Let us never forget this lesson. Let us never again abandon those who need our help. And let us welcome humanity not as a junior species, not as newcomers, but as equals, as heroes, as the best of what the galaxy can be. High Arbiter Vorath was removed from power that same night. No one defended him. 6 months later, Captain Delhune stood on the surface of Earth. He was still healing from his injuries, but he refused to miss this moment. Around him, thousands of people had gathered, human and alien side by side. They were there to dedicate the memorial, a massive structure of black stone and silver light, with the names of 8 billion victims carved into its surface. Admiral Jassu, now officially retired, spoke first. She talked about loss and pain and the long years of rebuilding. She talked about the choice humanity had made to be better than their enemies instead of becoming like them. Then Do-hyun stepped forward. "I was 32 years old when the coalition abandoned us," he said. "I watched my world burn from the window of an alien ship. I made a promise that day. I promised the ghosts of my family that humanity would never be forgotten, that we would rise from the ashes and make the galaxy remember us." He looked at the memorial. 8 billion names. 8 billion lives that the universe had tried to erase. Today, we honor that promise. Not with destruction. Not with genocide. But with this monument. With the truth. With the knowledge that humanity faced the worst the universe could offer. And we became stronger. We became better. We became heroes. He paused. The galaxy thought we were worthless. They thought we would die quietly in our ruins. They thought they could forget us. Do-hyun smiled. They were wrong. They were very, very wrong. The crowd cheered. Human and alien voices together, celebrating not just survival, but redemption. That night, Do-hyun's granddaughter, a little girl named Park Jia, found him on a hill outside the memorial. He was looking at the stars. "Grandfather," she said, "what are we celebrating?" Do-hyun picked her up and held her in his arms. She was 7 years old, born in a new era of peace. She would never know the fear and pain of the old days. "We are celebrating that we did not become what they thought we were," he said. "We became something better." Jia looked at the sky, at the thousands of alien ships in orbit, at the universe that was finally truly open to humanity. "Is the bad time over now?" she asked. Do-hyun kissed her forehead. "Yes," he said. "The bad time is over, and the good time is just beginning." Above them, the stars shone brighter than ever, and somewhere among them, the ghosts of 8 billion humans finally rested in peace, knowing that their sacrifice had not been in vain. Humanity had earned its place in the universe, not through destruction, but through courage, through resilience, through the choice to be better, and the galaxy would never, ever forget them again.